Again, hello everyone and happy Friday. I hope you're succeeding and staying warm wherever you are because personally where I am freezing. For today's training, we're going to be covering a little bit of Canvas as well as M365. We know especially when we start the new year and we're learning of how to best support each other and students and just getting through the day as a whole, often new features get hidden underneath the rug. We don't know about them. Maybe we have a couple of questions as well as just some best practices to hopefully get your new year starting right. We're going to cover quite a few things today, so let's go ahead and jump in. Do know today's session is being recorded, so we very much appreciate everyone staying muted for the duration of the session. We do have a couple of people on today's call. I have one of my colleagues who's going to be hanging out in the chat. Hopefully you saw their post a minute ago because we're going to be answering all your questions live. Please don't hesitate, pop any questions you have directly in the chat of today's training, and myself or my colleague will be there to support you. Again, we just want to make sure that the recording, everyone who rewatches it or maybe wasn't able to join us today, also has a good experience. But I've been alluding to us in the third person, probably best I introduce us. Again, hello everyone, my name is Joshua Bond, a customer success trainer at Microsoft. And I know that's a very long title. Let me make it very simple. It's my job to train you on your software, show you tips, trips, and features, and things that help me in my day that'll hopefully help all of you. And as I said, I'm excited I'm not alone today. I'm joined by my colleague Kai, who's going to be hanging out in that chat. So please don't hesitate. If you have any questions as we go along, don't hesitate to pop them in that chat. But let's go ahead and move forward. Now, I myself, as well as Microsoft, know better than many that, well, I wouldn't say many, I would say as good as all of you do, that often when you're trying to support, learn, and just develop yourself, usually one tool is not going to take care of all of your solutions. You're going to need a multitude. And when it comes to Microsoft tools, luckily we integrate with many. Whether it is Blackboard or in today's case, Canvas, do know you can use a lot of your Microsoft resources directly where you're creating your assignments and communicating with your students and fellow staff. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that just to make sure you have every bell and whistle to hopefully start the new year on the right foot. We're then going to go ahead and cover some really cool new features and some recommendations from me to you on how you might customize and change a little bit of how you work throughout the day to support everyone effectively. But for anyone who's been in a training with me before, you'll know I don't like PowerPoints. I don't like learning by them. I'm an interactive and a hands-on person. So what we're going to go ahead and do is shift away from these slides, and I want to jump into the tool itself. Now, because we're learning digitally today, as well as this being recorded, I always like to err on the side of caution. Can I get some reactions or posts in the chat? Can everyone hear me clearly, see my screen? It should be a blue Windows background. Just want to make sure everything's going smoothly on my end, and I'm already starting to see those thumbs up and those posts in the chat. I think we're good to go. I'll do my best to zoom in and speak clearly throughout, but not only if you have questions, but if you have trouble hearing or seeing anything, please don't hesitate, pop it in the chat. And if I don't see it, Kai, I appreciate you interrupting me and bringing it to my attention as always. Now, I want to start in a place many of you are probably familiar with, which is going to be Canvas, and making sure we're able to connect the dots with how Canvas and Microsoft works together. Now, the good news is, don't worry, you don't have much more to learn. So let's go ahead and jump in. Just to save us a little bit of time today, I already have a lovely little tab in my browser. It doesn't matter if it's Edge, Chrome, Safari, whichever you prefer, and I have it already signed into my Canvas account. Now, to make sure you have every tool and feature to support everyone, we need to take a look at your settings for just a moment. Don't worry, it'll only take a minute. What I'm talking about is making sure that the Microsoft integrated accessibility tools are currently turned on. I've both personally and worked with many people who've been interested in trying some of these. They find out that they're not working. They think something's broken, but no, you just got to flip a switch. To do so, we need to go directly to where your account is on the left side. Don't worry, you're only going to have to do this once, and we're going to go down to settings. We're going to skip over most of this information. We're going to go all the way down to where we get to where it says approved integrations. Keep in mind, Canvas and Teams and just M365, whether it's Word, OneDrive, SharePoint, have a great handshake to work effectively together. But you have to make sure that you're approving it to do so. Luckily, it's very easy to do. We could just go ahead and go all the way down, and we're going to be looking for a couple of items. Now, there is a lot here. The major one that I want everyone to make sure is turned on for them is going to be near the bottom, which is called Immersive Reader. This is a really good accessibility and as well as learning tool that works in all of Office. It works in all of our Microsoft products, and now it's available also in Canvas. And do not worry, you don't have to do anything new when you're creating assignments or writing to anyone in Canvas. This will be automatically available for them. So just make sure if it doesn't have the green check mark, go ahead and maximize this. It will give you a little description, and you should be able to quickly turn it on. I encourage everyone to do that, and luckily, that is the only setting you're really going to need to do. I've already talked to many people who are part of your college, and the integration, having OneDrive and SharePoint instantly work with Canvas has already been taken care of for you. This is just the major one that I've noticed often isn't, so better to be on the side of caution. Don't worry, we're going to show you why we want to turn this on. From here, let's just go ahead and jump into one of our courses, shall we? I'm going to go directly over to courses, and I'm just going to pop into one of them, just so we have a visual. Now, we're already seeing that once we ticked on that useful feature, many of you probably already see it actually. If you look in the top right corner of your screen, and again, I'm going to do my best to zoom in and out as we go, we have this new button called Immersive Reader. Whether it is an assignment, whether it is a discussion or an announcement, anywhere you type in anything, not only will you have access to this, but even more importantly, your students will have access to this. Again, this is giving support and accessibility options to them with no extra work on your end, because we know how busy you all are, and we only have so much time during the day. Let me quickly click on this because I want to show you what this does. And we'll quickly show you where you can access this in all of our other tools for today's training as well. What this does is it's going to go ahead and take whatever you typed in here and give you flexibility for people to understand and to read it impactfully. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Firstly, we can go ahead and change the text size. I cannot tell you how many times when I'm working with a digital textbook and I'm trying to read it, and I'm maybe looking at an image or a graph on the side, and I have to zoom in a lot to be able to read the text, but then I can't see the table. I can't see the image or graph. This is just going to give that little bit of extra flexibility. And keep in mind, everything we're about to do is only going to be on the student side or on your side. Any changes we make here will not change your original post, assignment, discussion, or anything. It's just to support them. We can go ahead and change the text size. We can also increase spacing. This is going to be very useful for those who maybe English isn't their first language and make it easier to read words they're maybe not as familiar with. Being able to change the font, such as Comic Sans, for some it's useful, though I prefer Calibri. And then something that I find is often overlooked, unless we're all staring at computer screens every day, and I'm sure many of you are sick of looking at your computer screens. What's really cool is you can change the background theme. Now, for all of us who are used to staring at something white with black text on it, we know that it either causes eye strain, it makes it hard to read after a while, and there's also studies that show that certain background colors can make it even more better and impactful experience and just make it easier for people to retain information. We can easily go ahead and click on any of these and make our experience that much better. Personally, for me, I have it set up wherever I'm reading a Word document, on a web page or anything. I always have it on a tan background. It makes it easier for me to read. And I will say, if I have a white background, after a while, it gives me a headache. Grammar options. I really like the syllable option. Again, we want to be accessible and supportive of everyone, but we don't have the flexibility of doing this by default for every single file or post or announcement or maybe, let's say, assignment. What's cool about this, again, is it's just going to make easy for people to read, but I'm going to take this one step further. When it comes to syllables, I find the most impactful way of using this is using a combination of syllables as well as reading preferences. Specifically the translate down here. We know you have a very diverse culture at your college, and you probably have colleagues that maybe they know a secondary language, maybe English is their secondary language, or you're supporting many students. Well, I will say personally, as someone who's trying to learn right now a second language, I'm trying to learn German at the moment. Slow sailing, but I'm getting there. When it comes to trying to understand a language that isn't your primary language, the most dissuading thing that can happen is having to translate the entire thing. It makes someone feel like, oh, I got to start from scratch. I don't understand anything anymore. But having the flexibility to choose, I need support on this one word I don't understand, this one sentence, this allows us to empower them and not to hinder their growth and development. So let me show you what I'm getting at. Let's go ahead and choose another language. And I'm going to go ahead and let's choose German for today. There are many, many different languages. And what's cool about this is we have the ability to choose either by word or by the entire file. I would encourage for any student who utilizes this to always choose by word. Again, we want to support if need be. We don't want to take away the challenge. Let me show you what this does. Let's say I'm reading through this and there's a word that I don't understand. I just can't make that connect, such as navigate. All I have to do is click on it. It's going to give me visual representation on it. It's going to go ahead and show the translation in the language I chose, so German. And what's really cool is you can even go ahead and have it speak the word out. I really like this as well when we're in a class for different languages and we're trying to know how to pronounce a word instead of always having to Google search it. You can do it right here. Very, very useful. And it just, again, gives that support without you having to do anything. We also have the ability to utilize line focus for those who maybe are easily distracted. Just very, very powerful. But all of these options and features that we just showcased and went through, you can even have it read it back to you as well. We were not impacting the original source. By quickly clicking on back, awesome. I was able to support myself as a student, as a learner, and we can continue forward. Do know this works across all of our tools. We'll show it in a couple more areas. But now I want to go ahead and I want to shift to one of the other integrations, which is going to be very important, which is going to be OneDrive when it comes to Canvas. One of the powers of utilizing OneDrive is you can share with your colleagues and students. You can choose, for example, let's say you're in a class and you want to share a file with 30 students. You can share it view only. And then one of your fellow educators or colleagues, you can share that exact same file to edit with them. This means you and your colleague can make changes and then instantly your students see those changes. It also just means whenever you make a change to a file, it auto saves. So in case your computer dies, I've forgotten to plug mine in every now and then, you never lose any of your work. Again, I know I've said this many times, but we know your time is valuable. Let me show you how it integrates directly into Canvas. One of the ways is directly at the bottom, you're going to notice that we have Microsoft OneDrive. And if we click on this, by default, it should already have you signed in. You'll be able to see all your files and folders directly from here. But what's cool is it's not just OneDrive, it'll also show SharePoint files. We'll cover SharePoint very, very briefly in today's session. Do know though, from everything I've heard from your colleagues that I've been working with, that most of your files in SharePoint are going to be large scale. Things for an entire department, for your entire college, things that update regularly that you might need to reference or share with a student for clarification. Just know you can access it all directly here. You're going to see by default, we have this My File section. This is just your OneDrive. And just to show, I also have OneDrive open in the app view here. You're going to notice it mirrors one-to-one. So you can access everything you need without having to jump away from where you're creating your assignments. We can quickly choose to right click or just click it open it in Word, attach it to an assignment, attach it in an announcement or discussion. You can all do it directly from here. Let me show you a shortcut though. I like to sprinkle in a couple things that really benefit me. We know nowadays, since you are teaching and supporting others digitally more than ever before, it can get very overwhelming trying to remember where a file lives. Doesn't matter what type of file it may be. It could be in SharePoint, it could be in OneDrive, it could be in Canvas. Who knows, maybe it was shared to you, attached in an email, and it was weeks ago, and you don't want to waste time trying to hunt through all those emails. We got too many emails after all. What's really cool is there's a recent section here. This is going to be showing all of the files that are stored in the cloud, sorted by most recent to older. Now, just because you might notice it looks a little weird with the zoom, I've zoomed my screen in quite a bit so you can see all the options here. This would normally be full screen for you, but this will show you all of the files you've recently accessed. This is a OneNote notebook I'm using with my students. Here are a couple of images, and all I need to do is find any of the ones I'm interested in, simply go ahead and click on it, and I can open it up. Doesn't matter where it lives, it'll save you some time, as well as a little bit of effort trying to remember where things are. Very, very powerful. Do know if you do not see OneDrive in Canvas, it should be set up by default when you signed in with your college account. It should be in your courses. Choose whichever course you are interested in utilizing and go all the way down. It'll be all the way at the bottom. You should see Microsoft OneDrive. If you do not see this, please reach out to your IT at your college. They can absolutely help you out. It might just be a switch they need to flip on the back end, but from everything I've heard, this should be all set for everyone. One last shortcut, and then we're going to move away from Microsoft OneDrive integration. Very powerful, but not the most exciting, is this quick access. Again, your time is valuable, and we're often jumping between responsibilities and files. What's cool is we've been taking a look specifically at ones that are your files. Let's say that you need to take a look at an update for your university or your college for a department, and you know a file is in SharePoint and you don't want to waste time jumping across different tabs or trying to search it in the web. What's cool is you see this little quick access area here? This is going to show any single SharePoint site you have access to. This could just be a site that shows resources for learning and development for staff. It could be health expectations and policy for keeping everyone safe in person on campus, or anything else. Again, it's just a lovely little shortcut. It'll show the ones you've recently been accessing right at the top, so you don't have to hunt for it. All right. While hopefully all of these have been very useful and are very important, I personally find that more tips and features and cool tools are much more interesting on a Friday. So we're going to go ahead and shift away from Canvas now, and I want to show you some of those cool tips and tricks. Let's go ahead and again, make it easy for you to find whatever you're looking for. What I'm going to take you to right now is called your Office portal. This is going to be pretty much your landing page for anything Microsoft. OneDrive, SharePoint, Outlook, Office, anything. And most importantly, finding what you need that much faster. This is where I always start my day. I have it just auto open whenever I open my web browser. Now, do know if you don't know how to get here, it's extremely easy. All you need to do is go ahead and open up a tab in your browser and simply go to office.com. That's all it is. And what it will do is it will automatically sign you in with your college credentials. And you should see quite a few things here. So I'm just going to go over a couple of them that really help me out. Again, we're not doing a full training on OneDrive or SharePoint or Canvas today. It's all about useful features that'll hopefully help you start the new year on the right foot. The one that I find one of the most useful is just going to be the search bar. What do you need? Do you know the name of what you need? Do you know the data was created? Maybe you only know the person that was working with you. You're probably collaborating with fellow colleagues and professors, makes complete sense. Why work alone when you can work with two? Two heads are better than one. Anything you're looking for. So let's say I'm interested in something in regards to an Excel file. I know there was an Excel file that I need from last year. I believe it was sent in an email. Maybe it was in a meeting in Zoom. I don't remember. I had a long weekend break and I want to keep that way. All you have to do is search for whatever you're interested in. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and choose show more results. This is going to search everything within your college revolving what you search for. You're going to notice that I don't have much here. It's just a little demo that I use to showcase these things. You'll have far more results than what you're seeing here. Are you interested in everything? This could be announcements. This could be meetings. This could be chats, everything quickly and easily. Or, and in my case, I find this probably the most powerful is going to be the files. What Excel file have I used recently? What file has Excel typed in it? Maybe I was collaborating with a person and I typed their name up in here. Any file I've been working with them in will also appear. and it doesn't matter how or where it was shared. Really, really powerful. Definitely give it a try. It definitely helps me out. All right, one last thing in our Office portal, and then we're going to move on to Outlook, because again, we get far too many emails every day. The other item I want to bring to everyone's attention is when you scroll down, there's this quick access area. This is probably my favorite and what I believe the most powerful tool in your Office portal. When we went ahead and searched up here, it was really narrowing our field to what we were trying to find. But the quick access is giving you a snapshot view of what you've been doing recently, but let's take it one step further and give you context. I have a saying that context is key. Well, you're going to notice that right up here, something that was opened 2 hours ago, this Word file, was it opened? Was it updated? Did I make the change? Did a student make a change? Did a fellow faculty make a change? Usually we'd have to open this up and then click a couple of buttons just to get that bit of information. What's cool is you have that context right on the right side. So you're going to see that this item, which is in SharePoint, this is the SharePoint icon. This is something I recently opened, and this Word file I recently opened. If I edit it, it would show that I recently edited. If maybe one of my colleagues, Kai, edited, it would show that Kai edited. If someone shared it with me, it would show that it was shared. If you shared it with someone, it would show that. Again, it's just showing everything that's been going on recently involving you, giving that little bit of context, and all you need to do is simply click on it, and it will open it right up, and you can jump right back into it. Really, really powerful. I am involved in multiple responsibilities and projects every single day. This saves me a lot of time and effort. All right, let's quickly just spend a tiny bit of time in SharePoint. I lied, we're going to put Outlook on hold for a moment. Don't worry, this will be very quick, because often when it comes to SharePoint, I get a lot of question marks above people's heads, which is perfectly normal. Many of you are probably going to be going into SharePoint just for a couple things. I'm interested in an update that my university or college has posted. There's a file that many people have access to. How can I find it? How can I use it? And how can I get along my day? To access SharePoint, there's a couple of ways. The easiest way I would recommend is go to your Office portal like we are here and search for what you're looking for. If you know the name of the site you're interested in, for example, I have a couple of sites for chemistry courses, you'll know they'll instantly appear when I type in chem. You can see that it's under sites. But if there's a file that you know the name of, simply search for it and it will instantly take you there. No navigation or learning SharePoint needed. But just so that you can see, I'm going to quickly open up a SharePoint site just so that when you go into one, if you're new to it, nothing is new. This is an example of a SharePoint site, and it's going to behave very similar to any other website you've been to, whether it's going to be the college website, whether you're ordering something on Amazon, or you're just trying to find some positive news because there's been a lot going on lately. You can simply hover and click over anything that you need access to, and it will go ahead and bring you right to where that information lives. Do note today is a demo. That's why you're noticing when I click on it, it's not really taking us anywhere. These would open up to a new location. Again, this is just for visual demonstration. The good news is if there are any files that you are utilizing in one of these sites. Now let's go ahead and go to one of those, shall we? Just so we have a visual. I'll just choose this one, it's fine. And I'm just gonna go to where some files might live. This might look a little different for some of you, but do know as long as you know how to use OneDrive, you know how to use this. Simply click on any folder that you're interested in. Click on any file. It will open as normal. It'll open in the desktop version of the program. So it would be a Word, PowerPoint, OneNote, so on and so forth. You can edit and collaborate as usual. Just know, in case you're curious, why would we store something in OneDrive versus SharePoint? When you store something in OneDrive, they're your files. You have full control, which means you can delete or share with anyone you want. When it comes to SharePoint, because so many people need these, we want to make sure you're not the only one in the spotlight. What if you're on vacation? What if you're very busy? We want to make sure that multiple people can support. So SharePoint just gives multiple people access to manage the file. That's all it is. Otherwise, it behaves exactly the same. All right. We've spent some time in Canvas. We spent some time in our Office portal, OneDrive, and SharePoint. Let's go over some of those cool setup and tools in Office that really helped me out. And I actually set up a couple of mine this year to set myself up for success. So hopefully they'll help you. Let's start in Outlook. Again, we all get too many emails nowadays. Now, whether it's Outlook or any of our other tools, it can get very overwhelming with how many options and features are available in here. And many of you, as well as I, have experienced this, having to spend quite a bit of time clicking between tabs in the ribbon and maybe even submenus just to find what we might need. It can be quite frustrating. I'm going to show you a really cool shortcut that I use all the time. Let's go ahead and show this. If you go ahead and take a look in the top left corner of Office, it doesn't matter, it could be Outlook, Word, Excel, OneNote, try this out for any of them. There's going to be this little drop-down arrow here. This is what is called the Quick Access Toolbar. Make it very simple. It allows you to pin any feature or functionality in this program up top. You can click on it and you never have to hunt for it again. By default, there's a couple already going to be here. Let's say, for example, you often need to print emails that you receive. You can choose to pin print, and there's now this lovely little printer icon up here. You click on it and it will instantly take you through the process of printing. What if you are often forwarding emails? Maybe you need to undo or redo something. This just allows you to pin them all up there. But for anyone out there who maybe is taking a look at this list and you're like, what I'm interested in is not here. Maybe you're a power emailer like I am. Do know we can go one step further. Again, this is being recorded for everyone, so don't hesitate to rewatch this later in case you need to refresh yourself on doing this. What I'm interested in is called More Commands. I want to choose what's important to me and make it easier for me in my day-to-day. So I'm going to go ahead and click on More Commands. Now, a lot is about to pop up. If we go to this dropdown, just to put it into context, I'm going to choose all commands. These are all features, buttons, or settings in Outlook. Give my demo 1 second. Look how much is in here. This is one of the reasons why I love this shortcut, because there's so much in here and it can be frustrating finding what you need. Let's go ahead and just choose a couple of random items. Again, anything you do in Outlook, you can pin to the top. Let's say very often, I need to usually copy whatever I have open to a folder. I could choose copy to folder, simply choose add. And once I choose apply, we're going to have it up top for us. Never have to hunt for it again. Let's do a couple more things. Let's go ahead and choose, I'm just choosing random items. Again, there's a lot in here. Let's say group settings. For some reason, you need to update these often. I'm just going to choose this. I'm going to choose add, and we'll just keep it as these two for the moment and just choose OK. They are pinned right up here. I never have to hunt for them again. I can just click on them and instantly get along on my day. Now, hopefully this helps many of you, but we all know that sometimes we have to wear multiple hats. What I mean by that is maybe you need to email students. That might be something you need to do, or faculty members, or people outside of your college. Maybe the tools you need for that is different than everything else. Maybe you need to manage calendars and things are slightly different for that. And while hopefully this helps everyone out, I know that it can get a little, let's say, crowded if we have a lot pinned up here. Let me show you the part 2 to this that I really, really like. Again, I know I've said this before, but it really is important to keep this in mind. What I'm showing you here in Outlook works in all of Office. If you are an Excel user, I'd highly encourage you to try out what we're showing today. Easiest way to do what I'm about to do is add another tab to our ribbon, and we can go ahead and customize this any way we want. Put whatever is important to us. Simply right-click on any of the tabs in the ribbon, and I'm going to go to Customize the Ribbon. You're going to notice we have a very similar window that appeared before. All we need to do, though, is make our tab. You're going to notice we have quite a few. Couple of homes, one send and receive, folder, view, and more. The reason why we have so many is because Outlook has a lot of functionality in there. So it makes sense that when we're looking at our calendar, we don't have a contacts home menu. To easily go ahead and create what we're interested in, just choose New Tab. I would also encourage renaming it so you know what it is. So I'm just going to right click on it. We're all familiar with whether it's a file or an option, right clicking us, give us more information, and I'm going to choose rename. And let's go ahead and what should I call this? We'll call this, we'll call it, what do I want to call it? I don't know. I'll call it just, I'll be a little unoriginal and I'll call it demo. Oh, my apologies. It looks like my demo environment is being a little slow. For some reason, I'm not getting the pop-up. Do you know, as soon as you click rename, you'll be able to type in whatever you need. Because we use demo environments, sometimes we have a couple of errors that appear. So I'll just pretend I gave it a cool name. And let's go ahead and add in some items that are important to us. I'll just choose a couple just so we can move forward. Choose add, and add, and choose OK. We now have our new tab, and we will always have access to everything we need right from here. Again, there's a lot of functionality and features in all of Office and our tools, and we know not every one of them is important to you. There are going to be ones that are relevant and very useful in the day-to-day. Go ahead and make sure whatever you need is just a quick click away. All right, let me go ahead and show just a couple more things in Outlook, and then we're going to shift forward. Let me go ahead and quickly create an email. All right. A couple of things that I would highly encourage, and this is going to not only be useful when you're writing emails in Outlook, calendar events, but also if you're writing anything in Word. I want to bring everyone's attention both to Dictate, Editor, and something in Review, but we'll get to that in a moment. Dictate. Be able to quickly and easily have what's in your mind speaking out and onto the page. I will say, as someone who's working heavily remote now, often I'm sitting in a chair all day long. Sometimes I just need to stretch my legs, maybe I need to move around, or I'm just having a trouble getting out my thoughts onto the page. What's really cool about this is it's going to go ahead and just put everything you say right here on the page. Editor. This is very useful, and I almost always have this open whenever I'm writing anything, whether it's to a student, whether it's to a faculty member, or I'm talking with a new company. What's cool about this is it's going to give you instant feedback as you start to write anything out. I will definitely say sometimes my grammar isn't the best. Maybe I'm using filler words. Maybe I'm not using language that is professional. It's not inappropriate, but it's not really professional, more casual. This is just going to give you that feedback as you go, so you're not going to have to reread it later. Really, really powerful. I really like Editor. Keep in mind, for all of our tools, whenever you're using them, you'll have demos and tutorials built into them. You can also hover over them to get more information as well. We have Immersive Reader directly through here. We covered this when we were looking at Canvas, so I won't repeat myself, but it's really powerful. You'll see it quite a lot. And the final thing I want to go over is going to be Review. Specifically, check accessibility. This again is going to work across all of our platforms. We all want to support everyone. That is completely normal. But sometimes I personally find it very hard to put myself in someone else's shoes, whether English is not their first language, whether maybe they use a screen reader, or many of other items. What's really cool about check accessibility is whenever you write anything, and I'll choose a file that has more information in it a little bit, it will instantly give you feedback. For example, maybe you have a font that you really like, it looks nifty to you, but it's really hard for some people to read. It will give you feedback and a recommendation to maybe change that. Maybe you're choosing a contrast that's not a good idea. Have you ever tried to read yellow text on a white background? It can be quite difficult. Maybe when it comes to language you're using or anything else. But most importantly, it's not just gonna say, wag their finger at you and say, you wanna fix this. That's not useful to any of us. What's really cool about this is it will go ahead and give you that recommendation and help you through the process. So let me go ahead and let me do something. Let me go ahead and choose some text. I'm going to go ahead and make it yellow. Instantly, it just gave us a little bit of feedback. Hard to read text, the contrast, it's going to take us directly to where it lives. So if it's a very large file, you're not going to have to hunt for it. It's going to give you some recommendations and information on why it might be a good idea to change. But again, help us through this process. We can simply go ahead and choose the font color. That would fix it. Or we could change the page color. Again, it's not enough to know, oh, maybe I should change something. It doesn't mean you have to, but it's also important to give you the support so that we can help everyone equally and make sure we're being accessible to all. Definitely, I encourage whenever you are creating anything in our tools and you're going to be sharing with others, before you share, just quickly go to review. It'll be in the same place always. Click on check accessibility and make sure you're doing your best to support everyone. All right, let's go ahead and shift away from Outlook. We've been spending too much time looking at emails. And as I said, I get bored at looking at emails every single day. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple other things and then we're going to wrap up. I'm going to jump over to PowerPoint now. Now, this is going to be something that'll be very, very useful for your students, but it's also going to be very important for you, especially if you are often giving lectures or just talking in general. What's really cool is there are new features available in the slideshow part of your ribbon. Again, find what's important to you and go ahead and pin them in these custom locations I showed you earlier so you don't have to hunt for them ever again. Well, the one I'm talking about specifically is called Rehearse with Coach. Now, when it comes to Rehearse with Coach, there are two really good use cases I find for this. One is feedback for yourself, and the other one is to give feedback to your students. Let's talk from the student point of view first. Again, it's a demo environment, so it looks like it's just being a little slow. Yours should just instantly start up. What this is doing is checking how you are talking and presenting. It is able to check if you are reading too much off of the slides you're showing. Are you not going slow enough? Yep, my demo environment's being a little finicky, my apologies, but I can still explain it. It will give you feedback on, are you using accessible language, inclusive language? Have you ever been watching someone speak? And I'll raise my hand, I've been responsible for this before, and it's very monotone, and you're just counting down the minutes and waiting for class or the talk to be over. We've all experienced that. It'll give you that feedback too, to make sure you're being engaging with people. Once you are done, once you've gone through this process, and do know what's cool is if you do this during a meeting, this feedback is not going to show for everyone else. It's only going to be for the student as an individual. So it's not going to out them as using this or make them highlight what they need to improve on. It's just for their benefit. I'm going to go ahead and try clicking on this one more time. Again, my demo environments. Yep, there we go. It's being a little finicky. I want to show this, so I'm going to open this in the web version because I find this to be a really powerful tool. My apologies as I have some technical difficulties. Do know almost all the features I showed today work and are available in the exact same way, whether you're going through the desktop or the web version. It does not matter. All right, just give my demo. There we go. I'm going to choose Rehearse with Coach. Come on, loading screen. Ah, beautiful. All right, yes, you can use my microphone. It's okay. Start. There we go. This is what it would look like for you or the student utilizing it. You would simply go through all of your slides. You would discuss any of the content there, and then you would just end the slideshow as normal. But this is what's cool. It's the feedback. How much time did it take for you to get through the content? How was your pace? Did you use filler words? We've all, again, experienced where we start counting on our fingers how many uhs and ands and ums we can hear when we're trying to listen to someone. Repetitive language, inclusive language, pronunciation, pitch, and much more, including originality if they're reading off the slides. Very, very powerful, very, very useful. Just because you understand the content yourself doesn't mean we don't need to learn how to best explain it and showcase it to others. But now I want to think of this from an educator's point of view. It is going to be very different if you are teaching digitally nowadays versus in person. You might be doing a mixture as well. Or maybe you are new to teaching in classes and you're going to be speaking a lot more than usual. I would highly encourage, even if you're not using a PowerPoint slide or any deck, go ahead and just have this run in the background when you're talking to your students, when you're talking with faculties and more. This is really, really powerful because At any time, you can check this feedback. I will say for me personally, I used to always say guys. It might seem very small, but that is not very inclusive because it's really towards one gender. I also used to have a lot of filler words, and I had to get better at just taking a pause, collecting my thoughts, and then continue forward. This is a really powerful tool, not only for educators, but also for students. So I highly, highly encourage that. And we do have a great question in regards to it. Will it flag language that is medically specific when it comes to healthcare students using verbiage and general public may not be familiar with as not being inclusive? If when you're asking in that regard specifically, terminology that maybe not everyone would understand, maybe it's more technical, do know that would not flag it. But if they do not speak clearly and enunciate their words when they are saying those words, because they are a little bit more hard to understand and grasp, yes, it will absolutely flag them. When it comes to accessibility, it's usually in regards to terming to large groups of people, to minorities, and much more. Again, just making sure everyone has a voice and no one feels singled out. Great question. Thank you for asking it. Love hearing it. All right. One final thing in PowerPoint, and then we're going to go to our last tool, and then we're going to wrap up. When it comes to presenting, whether you are digital or in the classroom, we want to make sure everyone can understand. What's really cool, and I'm going to go ahead and choose to move to the desktop program just because I know it's a little easier to see. Keep in mind, you have subtitle functionality built right into here. You can simply choose to turn on subtitles. You will need to make sure you have a microphone turned on when you're talking, whether it is an earpiece or your computer. And you can go ahead and choose the spoken language as well as the subtitle language. Now, for many of you, you're probably going to be interested in always having the subtitle language as English, but you can easily switch them at a moment's notice. And what's nice about this is you can just go ahead and go through presentations and talks as normal, and it will go ahead and you'll have your own personal closed captions along the bottom of the screen, no matter what you're discussing. I want to take this one step further though. This might be extremely relevant to some of you, or it might not be. So take this with a grain of salt. I work with a lot of colleges and universities that are in very diverse environments. Now, I'm not saying yours isn't, but what I mean by that is you might have many students or educators that speak a variety of different languages. And again, we want to support everyone. Translation is a very powerful tool, but we only have the option to have subtitles in one language here. Do know there's a tool that I'm going to be going ahead and posting the link in the training chat before we leave. It's called Translator. What's really cool about this is you can go ahead and generate a lovely little QR code, put it on any slide in your PowerPoint. Anyone who's present can just use their camera on their phone or computer, choose which language they understand, and you can just continue on as normal. What's great about this is whenever you talk in English or your native tongue, it will translate for their language on their device, but it goes both ways. They can go ahead and speak into their computer or phone their language, and it will translate for you in your language. Again, this is a really powerful tool if you have multiple languages in a talk, in a conference, or just in a classroom. Really powerful tool. And just because of our limited time, I can't really showcase it today. I'm going to share that resource with everyone so that if you're curious or you think it'd be beneficial, you'll be able to utilize it. Very, very powerful. All right, final thing, and then we're going to wrap up and make sure we have a little bit of time for Q&A because I know we're about at the end. OneNote is a tool I absolutely love. I both use this in work when I'm learning. I'm currently in college again for business, or when I was a student in another long time ago in math and chemistry and English. There's a lot of features in here, but I just want to cover a couple that I find are often overlooked or we don't know they exist. The first one I want to go over is hidden in view. Now, for anyone here who is having students write things out, or I would probably say science courses, medical courses, or math courses, this might be a game changer for you. Keep in mind, OneNote also integrates with Canvas, so you can use that there too. You don't have to hop around programs. What I'm interested in specifically is hidden in this dropdown. This is why I often find that people don't know it exists. It's called replay. Now, for anyone who is a messy writer, I will say I am a messy writer, or who has worked with a student who starts here. let's go ahead and let me switch to a pen. Starts, let's go ahead and let's go to this. Maybe they start writing over here. I'm gonna go ahead and choose that. There we go. They start going over here, part of one equation or a chemical formula. Then they start going over here and going over here and then going over here. And then it's your job to try to figure out where they started, where they ended, and the order of it. I'm sure we've all experienced it before. It can be very difficult. What's cool about how replay works is anything that's entered into OneNote, you can select it and have it play out in order of which it's been written, whether it was you who written it, whether it was a student at any time. Let me show you this. I absolutely love this. I'm going to go to View. I'm going to go to Replay. I'm going to go ahead and select everything. Now, this was very quick and I didn't put much in here, but imagine if it's a very long medical, like chemical formula or a math equation or anything like that. This will allow you to go piece by piece, stop at any place, point out where they might need to go ahead and make some changes or double check it, highlight it, and continue on. Again, we all work and learn in different ways. Sometimes it can be hard to follow how some people work because it's a little bit different than yours. All right, final thing, and then we're going to wrap up. And it's in the insert area. Sometimes you need to go ahead and give instructions for things that are already on a page, and you're not able to be in class for it. Maybe you ran out of time on a certain class day, and you just want to give a little bit more context in notes. Do keep in mind, you can go ahead and record, excuse me, my apologies, audio in regards to anything in here. And again, what's cool about this is it's directly related to whatever you choose. So let me go ahead and start this up. I'm going to click audio. Yep, go ahead and use mine. There we go. And I'm just going to start going through this. Class, we need to go ahead and work with the chemical formula for CH in top 3. That is then going to be going ahead and doing a conversion. I'm just making something off the top of my head into O2, and then continue on, continue on. But what's cool about this is you could just continue on as normal. And when a student comes in here, they're going to see that there's a recording. And when they play it, it's going to go ahead and play it back and highlight as you go ahead and go through it. Imagine it's just like you're in person or live digitally on a class, and you're going ahead and writing things out or explaining it. But you can do this here anytime you need, even if you don't have a class scheduled. But on that note, I know we've gone over a lot of information today and we're pretty much at about time. I'm going to go ahead and grab that really cool translator resource. I want to make sure everyone has access to it. I'm going to post that directly in the chat shortly. If you have any questions, I haven't seen any yet, please don't hesitate to pop them directly in the chat of today's training. Do know, as we discussed earlier, the recording, everyone will have access to it at a future date. It's going to be posted internally. In advance, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope even if you just found one feature, one shortcut that'll hopefully make your life a little bit easier or make it easier to support that one additional student, I hope you had a great experience and I hope it helps you out. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you at a future training. Let me grab that resource for everyone.